Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, Executive Editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to talk about the astonishingly great but astonishingly neglected French composer Albert Roussel, and particularly to consider this fantastic series, 4 discs of his orchestral music on Naxos, featuring conductor Stéphane Denève with the Royal Scottish National Orchestra. You know, Roussel wrote 4 symphonies, and they are very, very different from each other. The first has a subtitle, The Poem of the Forests, and it's one of those lovely French impressionist, shimmery, nice textury, impressionist, fuzzy pieces. It's really very, very, very beautiful and never performed. The second symphony is a flat-out masterpiece and begins to inaugurate an increasing austerity of idiom that would culminate in the neoclassical symphonies numbers 3 and 4. The only really popular works of his, if you could even call them that, are the Third Symphony, which was a favorite of Leonard Bernstein, who recorded it twice, and the ballet Bacchus and Ariane, whose second suite sometimes gets some play. I've actually seen it performed live once in my lifetime in Baltimore. But basically, he hovers on the fringes of the repertoire. There are great recordings of the Second Symphony with Jean Martinon and the Third and Fourth with Charles Munch and the Lamoureux Orchestra. Those are all in a big box on Errato, which I really hope to talk to you about in the not-too-distant future. But for the moment, I want to talk about this wonderful modern set on Naxos, which finally gives you a comprehensive survey of his orchestral music and does full justice to it in modern sound with great orchestra and vibrant, exciting conducting. So I'm going to take you through the contents disc by disc, so that you can see what's on each one of them and hopefully decide to acquire several if you haven't already, because I know you're all hardcore collectors and major Roussel lovers, right? As we should all be. Now, this disc has the Third Symphony and the Bacchus and Ariane ballet complete. It's probably the place to start because the Third Symphony is his most popular, and deservedly so. It's a magnificent work. I had a chance to play it once. It was tremendous fun, and it was very, very well received. It's just a beautiful work. With the climax and the slow movement, it's just enormous. It's exciting, and wow, baby. And Bacchus and Ariane, the second suite is simply the second part of the ballet. It has 2 parts, and it has 2 suites, which consist of the 2 parts of the ballet. So if you just play the whole ballet, you get suites number 1 and 2, and it's only about 40 minutes long, the entire thing, and the symphony is like 25 minutes. So this is not going to require a major investment of time, and these performances, as I said, are as good as any out there. So you really, really ought to consider grabbing that disc immediately. And then we have Symphony Number 1 with our ClassicsToday.com 1010 sticker, because it deserved to be the highest rated disc. It's Symphony Number 1, his symphonic prelude Resurrection, which is an early work, and then the incidental music to Le Marchand de Sable qui passe. These are all beautiful, beautiful pieces. They deserve to be heard, and you'll be surprised at just how wonderful they are. I mean, there's the quality in Roussel was top-notch right from the very beginning. He wrote at a certain standard and never, ever fell below it. His output wasn't huge, but it was extremely well crafted, like so much French music. The French composers tend not to be exceptionally prolific unless you're someone insane like Coquelin was, and otherwise they're few works but beautifully finished, and Roussel's music is squarely in that tradition. Then we get Symphony Number 4 and his Belgian Flemish Rhapsody. It's Belgian, the Rhapsody Flamande, which is a great deal of fun. That's a late piece. It's his Opus 56. And then some short works, his Petite Suite, the Concert pour Petit Orchestre, and the Sinfonietta, all of which are these lovely, charming, neoclassical, the style, right? Sort of Stravinsky-ian a little bit maybe, but they're all beautifully polished and fun to listen to. And then finally, another disc of great music, which got another 1010 on ClassicsToday.com. his Symphony Number Two, which is one of the great French symphonic masterpieces, and it's so little known. It's been getting more play recently. It's had a few recordings. Christoph Eschenbach did it quite well for Ondine. You know, people discover this symphony and they go, wow, where has this been? The problem with it is that it ends quietly, which is always a curse in concert. It's a dark and brooding piece of music, but wow, what a fantastic thing it is. And then his tone poem pour une fête de printemps, for a spring festival, and the fabulous Suite in F, which is another sort of neoclassical masterpiece. These pieces are usually short, perky, exciting, and they really there's nothing not to love. And when you hear them, you wonder where they've been. The reason they don't get played so much, frankly, is because they tend to be short. I mean, the biggest, most impressive symphony is Number Two, which, as I said, ends quietly. The third and fourth are 25 minutes long, maybe a little less. They're very brief, and all of these adorable little suites and shorter works are just that. They last between 10 and 15 minutes in 3 movements mostly, and they're hard to program in today's modern concert life, where first of all, conductors are incredibly lazy and don't want to learn the repertoire, and orchestras, don't want to learn the repertoire, and you wind up having to stick it in somewhere when you've got a concerto and a big symphony on the second half, and maybe an overture, and you want to hear named soloists do everything. And Roussel did not write any grand concertos that would have spread his reputation among important soloists of his own day. He did write a piano concerto, and there's a cello concerto. They're very, very short and somewhat, anti-virtuoso. That was the kind of composer he was. And as his style evolved, it got increasingly austere, which, doesn't make anybody particularly happy, no matter how great the music really is. And so, with that in mind, I really believe that you should just get to know him. He's a perfect composer for home listening, because you can sit down and savor the music, and its length isn't an issue, and its sort of stylistic ambitions aren't an issue. You can just enjoy it for the immaculately crafted, tuneful, brilliant music that it is. And these performances, whether you get them in a box or whether you get them separately, really deserve your attention. Thank you, and keep on listening.